Alright, we've got the hood space here. We talked about the fluids and everything that we check inside the apparatus and the engine compartment. What were some of those fluids? Oil, okay. Oil, does anybody remember what the oil was? Rotella 1540, that is correct. Good job. And there's certain spots that we'll check. So in order to get to some of these fluids, we need to lift the hood, correct? There is a locking mechanism to the hood, and it is basically a super bungee cord. That's what we call it here. They come undone here by lifting and then pulling away. Alright, when we lift and pull away, we now approach the front of the apparatus, and there's a handle here. We pull down on the handle, make sure we're capable of supporting the weight, and the weight comes down, and there you go. Now you can access your engine compartment. In the engine compartment, we have multiple different dipsticks and multiple different reservoirs. These reservoirs, some of these reservoirs include power steering fluid, good. Another reservoir that might be in there could be antifreeze, correct? Alright, and another one may be the windshield washer fluid. There you go, perfect. Alright, if we're getting into the engine compartment, we have a blue cylinder here with a blue dipstick on the top. What do you suppose that is? The oil check. Okay, do we fill the oil there? That is not the oil fill, that is just our oil check. And what did the information say whenever we're checking our oil? We want to make sure that it is where on the dipstick? In the operating range, right? Okay, we don't want it to be overfull. If overfull, that means it could do what to the pressure? It could go up on the pressure. Alright, so in order to check it, all we do, unscrew it, pull out, have some sort of paper towel or a rag to wipe it off with, wipe it off, re-dip, leave it there for a couple seconds, pull back out, get a proper reading. What if you pull the dipstick out while the apparatus has already been running and it's hot? Are you going to get a good reading? You will not get a good reading. You won't get a solid reading. Okay? Right above it, we have transmission fluid. It is clearly labeled and it is red. Same thing, same operation. Do we fill the transmission up from there? We do. Okay? Make sure we do it clean. We don't want to have a jug of transmission fluid and just sit here and pour right into it. Does that make sense? All right. Next, we're moving on to the reservoir for power steering. Power steering on the top, we have a dipstick, we have a plug for the dipstick, and we also have a reservoir lid and cap. In order to access the reservoir cap, you simply unthread it, okay? Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. For a dipstick, we push away and pull toward us, whichever one you choose. And again, with a rag, if I'm strong enough, with a rag, you wipe it off, and then you'll dip it back in, and you'll get a good reading, an honest reading for it, okay? Remember, you may get dirty. Gloves are optional. The other things we're looking for underneath the hood, what are some things that we need to be checking for?
Belt.
The belt, what are we checking for on the belt? Condition, tightness, making sure that it's not squeaking when it's running. You said leaks, we're checking for obvious fluids all over the engine space. We're making sure that it's not spewing everywhere and that there's nothing obvious. Okay. On the other side, we have our washer fluid reservoir, and then we have our overflow for our coolant. Okay. Remember what I said about the coolant? What are we not doing to check the coolant level?
Open it all the time.
Okay. The radiator. If we pop that open when it's hot, it is likely to have a lot of pressure behind it, and it will pop out at you, and it won't be good for you, and it's going to be splashing mess / eye health. So we're using the reservoir on the other side of the engine space to check with the overflow container. Does that make sense? All right. As a review, does anybody remember what the oil does for the engine? Lubricates and cools. Okay. The power steering. Okay. It's basically a hydraulic system mechanical advantage, correct? Okay. There's the hoses and everything that works in conjunction with each other to help you steer a lot easier. Okay. And then the radiator fluid or the coolant cools or keeps from freezing. Very good. And when do we check these? On weeklies, more often. Okay. On the end of the month weekly, the only thing we're checking for is to make sure that the cleanliness is there. If we need to deep clean the engine, then you deep clean the engine, whatever you got to do. All right. Questions?